Suppose your morning breakfast cereal has decided to add a prize to the box, and the prize is one of the three chipmunks from Alvin and the Chipmunks. Well, at least one of their collector's cards. That intro leads us to today's question. You just have to have the Theodore card because he's the cutest chipmunk. I think that's debatable. You start opening all these boxes of cereal trying to find one, assuming the pictures are randomly distributed in the cereal boxes. You have a 20% chance of finding one in any box you open. Opening one box is called a trial. Okay, so there's two possible outcomes here. You're either going to find the card, success, or you're not, failure. You get Theodore's card or you don't. Okay, the probability of success, denoted as P, is the same in every trial. So for this case, there's only 20% of the cards are Theodoric cards. The trials are independent. Finding Theodore in the first box does not change what might happen when you open another box. And I know what you're thinking is, well, how is that possible? There's got to be a limited amount of these. True, but we're going to assume that the number of Theodores available in the universe are so large, taking one Theodore card out of the universe is not going to change the probability that much. These situations are known as Bernoulli trials. So other examples could be tossing a coin, head or tails, looking for defective items. They're either defective or not defective. Shooting free throws in basketball, guessing true or false, or multiple choice questions. So you might think, well, in a multiple choice question, there's more than one choice. However, only one is the correct choice and the rest are incorrect. So that is only two possible outcomes. So going through all of that, what is the probability that we get a Theodore in the first box we open? So that, of course, is just 0.20 because our probability was 20%. So our next question is, what's the probability we don't find one until the second box? And we're going to call the probability of failing Q. So what this means is that our first attempt, it's failure, Q, and our second attempt is success, P. We're going to multiply those probabilities together. So what is Q? Q would be the inverse or the complement of P. So 0.8 and P is 0.2. And our sum is going, our product there, our multiplication is going to be 0.16. So the probability we don't find that Theodore until we open the second box is 0.16. So what it's saying is that the probability we have to wait till the second box is less than we just find it in the first box. So then what happens if we have to wait until that fifth box? Oh my goodness, wouldn't that drive somebody who really wants that Theodore mad? Well, we could write out the 0.8s because the first four boxes are all going to be 0.8, 0.8, 0.8, 0.8. But a more effective method of doing that would be to just use an exponent. So 0.8 to the fourth power times 0.2 for our P. And this gives me 0.0819. So it's really rare that you'd actually have to wait to that fifth box to get your Theodore. Now let's think about how many boxes would you expect, or the mean to have to open to get just one? Since there are Theodore cards in 20% of the boxes, or 1 out of 5 boxes, we could reason that we should get one, and I wish I would put by the fifth box, not on the fifth box. All right, so I'm actually going to change that, by the fifth box. So we would expect that it would take about 5 boxes on average, or every fifth box we should definitely have at least one Theodore card. This leads us to some formulas and some definitions here. So one Bernoulli trial on its own isn't very interesting. We're looking more at these long-term processes to get success. The model tells us what that long-term probabilities are. What those are called geometric probability models. So the geometric probability is we start with the probability of success. Q is its complement, the probability of failure. X is the number of trials it takes until you get that first success, or when is that going to happen? So the probability, of course, are the number of failures, the number raised to the number of trials minus 1. We can see that in this example right here, where we've got 0.8. So our number of trials was 5. 5 minus 1 is 4. And our next one is the expected value is actually pretty easy to find. It's always 1 over the probability. And we saw that in the previous case. And here's one we didn't even talk about, but there is a formula for standard deviation, which is the square root of Q divided by P squared. You can also simplify this by taking the square root of the denominator, and you would just end up with the square root of Q over the square root of P. And I believe that is how it's written on your formula sheet. So this is actually a formula that you're given for the AP exam. While these trials are called Bernoulli trials, the AP exam doesn't really concern itself with that term. We're learning about 2 different kinds of trials here of probability models, geometric and binomial, which we're going to learn about in the second part of this lesson. Bernoulli covers both geometric and binomial trials. So it's just kind of an overreaching term that we would use for both. But don't be concerned about this. You're not going to see this name on the AP exam. So here's how something qualifies to be either geometric or binomial. It has to have these 3 events in place, or else it does not qualify. So is our example truly independent? And we're going to check that right here. And you do have to check these things. So do we have 2 outcomes? It's either Theodore or not Theodore, or not. So it does have 2 outcomes, check. 2, does it have a fixed probability? And it was a 20% likelihood of success, all right, or 0.2. So check. That is fixed. When I take one out, it's not going to affect anything. And 3, independence from trial to trial. So if I know the first box was a Theodore, does it change the probability that the second box will also be a Theodore? And this is independent. So our example definitely was a Bernoulli trial, or in this case, a geometric model. There is one other thing that we can sometimes, this is our fudge area, the 10% condition. So this is actually what we're using for this example, where I was talking about, yeah, we know that there's a limited amount of these cards. However, when we take out one card, we're not taking out more than 10% of the population. So we can still apply independence and fixed probability because our population is so large. Taking out 1 or 2 cards from the population is not going to affect its probability or its independence. And that's what we're using, that's what we're applying to this model. Let's look at some examples and do our checks to see if these are indeed Bernoulli trials, or if they fail our conditions. And let's figure out where they would fail, like 3 conditions, one of the 3 conditions, if they're not Bernoulli trials. In this first example, we are rolling 50 dice, or one die 50 times, just to look at the distribution of the number of spots on the faces. In a problem like this, assume it's a standard 6-sided die, and that would make 6 possible outcomes. And there's really not a success failure option here. So we're just looking at, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? Not really success or failure. So this cannot be a Bernoulli trial. It fails that first requirement. So this first example is definitely not a Bernoulli trial. Let's look at the next one. So how likely is it that in a group of 120 people, it really should say people, the majority may have type A blood, given that type A is found in 43% of the population? I want to ask you a question. Do you think that there is a success, failure, or a 2 possible outcome answer to this one? So that first requirement for a Bernoulli trial. And hopefully you said, yes, there's just 2 choices. It's either type A or it's not type A. Some of you might have thought, oh, well, I know there's lots of different types of blood types. There's AB, there's O, there's, positive, negatives. We weren't really worried about those. But this is just, it's either type A or it's not type A. So that is 2 choices, and yes, that one is successful. So let's go ahead and think about the last 2 requirements, 2 and 3. So fixed probability of 43%, that wouldn't change. It's a known amount. I'm not sure if it's still the correct amount. Somebody could look it up. Fact check me if you'd like to. And 3, it is independent, because if I know the first person has type A, it's not going to change the probability of the next person in line having type A. So I'm just going to put independent. I don't need to put anything else. So this one is a Bernoulli trial. So in order to show that this meets the requirements of either a geometric or binomial distribution, you just have to make that list of 3, check them off, and say we're good to go, or meets the conditions.